Now on this show, it's time for another guest, and boy, are we treating you! We've had quite a few guests on the show at the moment, and next guest is no exception. He's a singer in the world of music. Welcome to Wallace Mair. Good day to you.
Hi, Danny.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me onto your show. Absolutely brilliant, mate. Thank you. I've been wanting to come on this show for a wee while also, and yeah, nice one. Thanks,
Oh,
Danny.
yeah, you're welcome. And people can tell from your accent you're from Scotland, but you're actually down under at the moment.
Yes, it's I believe it's 12:15 in the
Yeah,
UK. Um, Here it's 11:15 Friday night.
yeah,
So we're 11 hours ahead
yeah.
here in Australia.
See, you listen to that show, you learn about time zones as well. Right, so on to the music now, Wallace. How did you get into music? Were your family music orientated? Was it running in your family, so to speak, entertainment?
Yeah, very much so, Danny. It all started through my dad and my uncle. They were in a good band in the '60s, and they really did well back in the '60s. Touring America and all that kind of
Yeah,
thing. They won a huge competition in Glasgow, and so they took me under their wing at 14, and I started playing in pubs, and I haven't stopped.
oh, that's good. So I understand they were part of the beat scene, the Kinks in Soho, that kind of era, 60s. Your parents, is that correct?
Yes, yes. They socialised, they mixed with the likes of the bands in Soho in the early '60s. I think it was '62,
Yeah,
and they also supported the Kinks as well, and they had some fantastic stories, Danny.
yeah,
Um,
impressive.
I enjoyed listening to them.
Yeah, great, great, great. And Johnny Cash as well. I know you're a big fan of him. How has he inspired your music, the Man in Black?
I I think it was just the rawness of and his voice, um, the way that he could tell a story in his songs, and he was just very real.
Yeah,
And yeah, I couldn't really see by Johnny Cash at all. He was, and I'll always be a true fan of Johnny Cash for sure.
yeah. I often find he's overlooked by the King. Elvis Presley. He was the king. He wrote some great stuff, but everyone seems to love Elvis Presley. Um, but not everyone likes Johnny Cash to that same level, even though he has achieved the same kind of
Yeah.
accolade. If that makes
Yes, I
sense.
think I think they were on a par, but I think because Elvis was more kind of, what could you say, mainstream
Yeah,
maybe.
rock.
He was. Um, Johnny Cash was kind of slightly, not as much into that
Yeah, yeah,
genre. But certainly Elvis Presley was the king of
yeah,
show, big time show, and
yeah,
Johnny Cash is more like in a band, front
yeah,
band
yeah.
man. So
I mean, obviously, rock and roll country. I guess during that time there were contrasting styles. Were at that time the 50s and 60s, and on to the 70s now. And the 70s and 80s, was that quite a pivotal moment in your life as well, discovering music and singing?
yes, I started to really get into music round about '76, '77, coming into the punk era.
Yeah,
I started to really, it got a hold of me then, and obviously you had all your bands in the '80s, Duran Duran and Tears for Fears,
yeah,
H2O,
yeah,
bands like that. New Romantics, and was huge, and I was just influenced. I really started to get into music then, and yeah, that was just not stopped at all.
Yeah,
It's just music.
I know the 80s as well, Scotland as well. Great exports, Deacon Blue, Simple Minds, of course. Were you ever in that kind of circle of those bands, coming out of Glasgow at that time?
Yes, very much so. There was a huge amount of talent in Glasgow and surrounding area at that time. The Simple Minds were, oh man, they were just well. I think they were well before their time. Anytime you hear their music, it just lifts you.
Yeah.
And obviously you had your likes of Big Country as well, Thompson Twins, those, and H2O, Ian Donaldson.
Yeah.
They guys were just amazing, and still are.
Yeah, I think they know
fantastic.
I think they know what they're doing. To be fair.
Yes.
And
yes, very much so.
Yeah. So just talked briefly about the 60s, 70s, 80s, and do you know? I know you got a new album come out. It's got Forever Dreaming on, which is it's a nice acoustic number, and you worked with other artists. I know there's kind of like a female vocalist on that track. What's that like working with other artists as well?
It's what I normally do, Danny, is I bring a song to the studio, and we just work on it in the studio. 9 times out of 10, it's just myself and the producer.
Yeah.
That does this, and we just colour it in, and we just see where the song takes us. But that song, Forever Dreaming, I actually recorded that with Jamie Duffin, Graham Duffin from Wet Wet Wet.
Yeah.
It's his son, so he's an absolute genius.
Yeah.
And this is what we come up with.
Great.
And it's actually his wife. His wife is doing the backing vocals in that.
And This Is Paradise. That's another song as well. Can you tell the listener a little bit more about that track? This Is Paradise.
Yeah, This Is Paradise. That was also done with Jamie in the studio in Glasgow. I worked with Margaret Ritchie, a lyricist, and she put the lyrics together, and we come up with this beautiful song.
Yeah.
And then so that's getting released now as a single, and the video has just been complete last week. I was up the coast in Australia putting the final scenes onto it, so
that's good.
And I'm looking forward to the end product.
Yeah, is this one of your first albums as well, Wallace? Is this like a debut?
Sorry, Danny, what was that?
Is this one of your first albums, like a debut album from you?
We had another 2 or 3 albums before that, or was it an EP? But one of the other albums, Something We Can Do, that it gets signed to the same label. But this song, this album, What's in a Name, is really sort of, really starting to do well. So absolutely delighted about that. Yeah,
I think it's really great. Musicians, experienced musicians as yourself, getting the opportunity to still do what you do, which this music industry has been dominated by young people. So it's great. It's great we have the platforms for accomplished musicians like yourself, Ian Donaldson, to release music still to the audiences that want this type of music.
Absolutely. The thing about the music nowadays, Danny, as you know yourself, there's that many different types of music now. There's stuff out there that I don't fully understand.
Yeah.
Because when we came through the music scene, back in the 80s and that, it was you were in a band and you made a record, and you were either signed or you weren't. There was no internet. there was no nothing like that.
Yeah.
But nowadays, especially with the younger ones, and that they can master this internet technology.
Yeah.
And they're using keyboard sound and all different things, and that's nothing stays the same, and music is going to keep changing and keep advancing.
Yeah, that's true. And what I like about these charts at the moment, people aren't assigned to this just top 40 charts. Back in the day, success was kind of measured by the top 40, but at the end of the day, success is what you make it as a person in your own lane.
That's right. That's right. I mean, everybody's dream back in the day was being in top of the pops, or getting into the top 40 or whatever. But now it's not like that anymore. It's changed so much, the music world, and it's a harder egg to crack.
Yeah.
And but we do it as indie artists. I believe we do it because we love it.
Yeah.
If it's just something that we do, and working with presenters, the likes of yourself, Danny. That you get us heard, and
yeah,
that's what it's all about at this level.
That's what it's about. Working with each other, helping each other out, and. That's what it should be about, and that's the kind of concept of my shows. We're giving people like you the airplay, that the recognition that you deserve. All these indie artists. When people say to me, "Do you listen to new music?" Not so much top 40, but I listen to new music from indie artists because they have musicianship. They write their own songs, and the lyrics as well have meaning. So I think it's great, like musicians, indie artists like yourself, having a go and enjoying it, and then whatever comes from it is a bonus.
Exactly. The whole thing about it is, Danny, if it wasn't for the way that you presenters put us over, and get us heard, it would be virtually impossible. I think nowadays, but. Yeah. So we're forever thankful for presenters like you, and you're very important in what we do.
And likewise, thank you for submitting your tracks as well, and the bands as well out there, the artists. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, especially during these times as well. Where we can't get to the stage, and hopefully there are more brighter days ahead. I am really hopeful. I really am that things will get to some kind of level where people can enjoy live music again.
Oh, please. That's what we want. We need to get all fellow musicians and everything out there. We need to all get out and start gigging again, because it's just so trying.
Yeah. Well, Wallace, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, and all I mean to say is thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day. And what's the weather like down under? Do you have a heat wave at the moment?
Yeah, it's quite warm. Yeah. It's quite warm just now, Danny. Yeah. It's up in the 30s this weekend, so yeah.
And I wanted to. I always finish off an interview on a lighter note, and I know you're based in Canberra, and a lot of people often think Sydney's the capital of Australia, but it isn't, is it?
No, I thought, I always thought that it was either Sydney or Melbourne, but it's actually Canberra, and Canberra's more inland, the bush capital territory. Yeah. And it's Canberra that's actually the capital of Australia.
For real. And we're going to play one of your tracks now. And again, thanks again for joining me today on the Dannison Radio Show, Wallace Mair.
Thank you, Danny.